Normally on Next Level Sim Gaming, you would have me on camera at the very start and I would be telling you as to what's going to be happening in the video. This time, I'm showing you what to expect in this video. We are playing American Truck Simulator. As you can see, this is looking absolutely incredible. I've been playing American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2 for a number of years now, and it's never been as incredible as it is now. If I was a fitting start to 2026 or an end to 2025 to bring subscribers and new viewers what many people have been asking for on this channel for a very long time now, which is how do you get your game looking like you do? In the screenshots that I share on Best Community Ever on X and on some of the forums, many people say, what's your load order? How do you get your game working like that? What modifications are you using? And there's going to be a number of YouTubers that just simply will not share these settings. This time, today, I'm showing you. I'm also going to show you how to install Reshade correctly. I'm also going to be showing you how we get the game looking like this and what modifications are required to get the game working like this. But you may have noticed that I'm able to move my head around and look around in the cabin in an almost virtual reality type experience, and that's made possible by the amazing Tobii Eye Tracker 5, who are partners to the channel now. I'm now officially a Tobii affiliate, and by clicking the link in the video description you can also get yourself an amazing Tobii Eye Tracker 5. That's an amazing 20% off until the 31st of December. The Tobii Eye Tracker 5, if you are playing ATS or ETS2 on the flat screen, is an absolute essential. It just adds amazing immersion and it is just absolutely fantastic. Now also, I can roll my head as well. As you can see here, I can look around, have complete freedom of motion, and I'm also using the Moser GS V2 wheel here as well. The line of sight to the eye tracker is absolutely fantastic, and also glance down inside the cabin as you can see there and look around. It just makes it an absolutely amazing experience. There'll be a bit more about the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 later in the video, but as you can see guys, this is absolutely sweet to bix. We are running this game at 300% scaling on ultra settings, and I'm using a Core Ultra 9 285K and obviously an RTX 5090. Yes, you will need a powerful PC to run this level of modifications, so disclaimer alerts, we have to mention that from the very start. But that's not saying you need a 5090. A powerful GPU and obviously a good CPU will get your game running somewhere to the level where you can see now. Well, we've stopped just at this crossing here. It's going to go out of the vehicle now and we're just going to have a look at this amazing John Ruder Kenworth W900 Highway Killer. And this is just absolutely beautiful, as you can see, and the level of detail in this is just second to none. I'm also going to be linking my workshop modifications as well, so you can actually grab those directly from the Steam workshop, so you don't have to obviously go through the pain and hassle of obviously looking through the list and selecting them. You can simply just go onto that list, my favourite items in the workshop, and you can download them yourself. Now as we look around in the cabin, you can see the level of detail in this John Ruder W900 Highway Killer Kenworth is just absolutely incredible. Now of course this is a paid modification. Again, disclaimer, there are a number of paid modifications in this video. You don't have to use those, but of course if we're talking about how to get your game looking this good, then we have to obviously mention those. The base modifications in use to get your game looking like this are Project Next Gen, which is the new 1.15.7, which is for the new 1.57 update, which we are using here. Now Project Next Gen completely revolutionizes the game engine. It adds additional textures, adds additional skyboxes, adds additional depth to the foliage. What we're also using here as well is we are using Reshade. I'm going to show you how to install Reshade and how to install it correctly so that it actually does work with the Snowymoon lighting improvements, which is the second paid modification that we need to discuss today as well. Lots of people ask me in many of the forums I'm sharing screenshots in, how do you get your screenshots looking like that? How do you get it working like that? The Snowymoon lighting improvement is key to essentially rectifying the in-game lighting, which is very oversaturated, to get it looking more realistic and more natural, like you can see here. What we also have as well is in the Snowymoon modification, there is some additional effects which also increase the actual intensity of many features. So you can see, if I look down to the left here, you can see a slight motion blur. That motion blur just gives a really nice effect as we're driving along, and it just makes it just much more realistic. If we are looking out of the cabin, so for example, as we're moving along, we've stopped a little bit now, so it's quite difficult to portray, but as we're moving along, as you would in a real vehicle, you would have that motion blur in your vision as you are driving past objects. It's little features like this that all add up to make this an overall immersive and incredible experience. And it's probably one of the most incredible modifications because, of course, like many, it's a paid modification. It's around £1 a month to subscribe to the Snowymoon lighting improvements. But the ongoing work that Snowymoon puts into American Truck Simulator and also Euro Truck Simulator 2 make a huge difference to the game. The other elements, as well as Project Next Gen, we also have a number of other features active in here now. You may see that the weather effects that we have running are incredible, and again, these are workshop modifications that are linked, and I will show you how to install these and what load order these go in as well. But I'm pretty sure that you will agree that this is nothing short of incredible. The particle effects of the actual rain here are ultra realistic. In terms of the additional equipment I'm using to get the game looking and working like this, I have Moser set up. As already mentioned, I've got the Moser R9. I've got the Moser indicator stalks here, so just putting up on the indicator stalk there just to turn the actual windscreen wipers up there, which is obviously required in this heavy rain conditions that you can see here. Just little things like this all add to immersion. Now, of course, you don't have to obviously have these, but if you're really serious about American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator 2 and you want to get the game playing in the best way possible, which is the end goal for everybody, these are the essential items that I would say are really nice to have. But back to the actual base game and back to the modifications again, I'm using 300% scaling in the game. For the purposes of recording, I would normally play it at 400% scaling, although there's not a huge amount of difference between 300% and 400%, admittedly. But, you know, this is just absolutely amazing. And there's no other words really I can use other than that. It is just the most incredible and immersive experience. I play a lot of racing simulator games, and there's nothing I enjoy more than just relaxing and playing on ATS or ETS2. And we're at a killer junction here, so this is where it comes in really handy to have the amazing eye tracking, because let's face it, there's nothing more immersion breaking than simply having to use buttons on your keyboard or buttons on your steering wheel to look around at a junction, or even have that complete rotational aspects with the amazing roll feature on the Tobii eye tracker as well. And I reached out directly to Tobii and contacted them. I've had a Tobii eye tracker for a very long time. I actually just wanted to work with Tobii because I believe in the product so much. Having used it for so long, I wanted to include it within many of the guides that I'm going to be bringing you. So this is really an introduction guide going into the new year. What we're going to be doing on Next Level Sim Gaming, we're going to be completely continuing with these videos, and we're going to be showing you up-to-date modifications, how to get ATS and ETS2 working well. But it needs no introduction really, does it? Look at this, it's just amazing. And I have a good friend who actually also has a YouTube channel. He calls himself Simon the Gaming Dad Legend, and I'll leave a link to his channel in the video description as well if you want to check him out. He's equally enthusiastic about both American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2 as I am, and he agrees that this game is just a level now where it's just getting better and better. It's just like a fine wine, it really is. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on and look at another section in the game where hopefully the weather will improve, and we'll show you a couple of different effects as to what to expect within the game environment. Huge thanks to Tobii for giving all Next Level Sim gaming viewers an exclusive discount on the Eye Tracker 5. From now until January the 6th, 2026, you can get an incredible 20% off. Just use my Tobii Ambassador link in the video description or scan the QR code on screen. Any purchase through that link also supports the channel and helps me bring you more guides just like this one. And if you want the chance to win a Tobii Eye Tracker 5, you can also use the sweepstake link in the video description and enter completely free. So we are now in New Orleans and we are now driving our precious cargo to our first customer. Taking this opportunity now to show you some of the different effects and modifications that we are using within the game before we do dive into the actual tutorial itself. First of all, the thing that you will notice here is that of course it's now getting to dusk. I'm just going to put the lights on in the truck, and you'll see that the actual sky effects are absolutely incredible. There are three different types of modification sources that we use for American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator 2. And we're just going to discuss a couple of the modifications that we'll be using to get our game looking like this. The first one is available for free from the Steam Workshop, and this is known as Weather 3.5. And this is a incredible modification, and again a real thank you to the makers of these modifications for completely transforming this overall experience in the game. What it does is it adds a series of volumetric skyboxes to the game, as well as some weather effects, and it just completely overhauls the actual look of the effects within the game itself. Project Next Gen, which I previously mentioned, is what we would say would be the base modifier, which is a paid modification, but in my view again an essential modification to get the game looking like this. You can add layers on top of that, so Project Next Gen does come with a series of skyboxes and volumetric effects which are fantastic, but you can remove the weather aspect of Project Next Gen and you can insert Weather 3.5 to get your game looking incredibly amazing like this. The other ones I've got to mention are external mods. So we have three different sources. We have workshop mods, we have paid modifications which are available from paid modifiers like John Ruder. This amazing John Ruder Kenworth W900 that we are in here, and just to flip to the outside of the truck just so you can see that driving past, this is the John Ruder W900 Highway Killer. Back into the John Ruder truck, you can see that the level of detail in this truck is absolutely incredible. They are known as paid mods, like Project Next Gen. They can take the form of trucks, trailers, and also, of course, graphical overhauls like Project Next Gen, but they are available from sources that I will link within the video description. But again, in my view, with paid modifications, SCS don't necessarily like paid modifications, but of course it is completely up to you whether you want to use those or not, and whether you feel it is a worthy purchase to transform your game. One thing that I have to mention now, do not ask me to provide you with any of these paid modifications, because I just can't do that, and I would not do that. I do have ultimate respect for the modifiers of the game, and also the fact that they put a lot of work and effort into making these paid modifications, and of course it's up to you whether you want to add those in to get your game looking to this level of effect. The third source of modifications is external mods, as they are known, and these are available from sites such as Modland, and they are free generally, but I would exercise extra caution when downloading them, because they tend to contain a lot of pop-ups on the site with a lot of adware and things that pop up. So again, discretionary, whether you want to use them or not is up to you, and I will link a couple of them in the video description, and I'll show a couple of them when we get to the relevant section within the tutorial. But again, it's completely up to you whether you want to use them or not. Probably hear the phone ringing now. Our customer's getting impatient, and obviously we are running slightly late in making our delivery. Another real transformative one as well, talking about the company billboards. You can see on the billboards just up there that everything looks incredibly realistic, and that is another free modification link from the Steam Workshop. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dive into the actual guide itself, and I'm going to show you first of all how to install Reshade and Snowymoon and how to get these working well together and where to obtain these from. We're going to start things off by showing you how to install the Reshade application, and also I have included for you a link in the video description where you can download directly both the Reshade application 6.50 for best compatibility with American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2, and also for American Truck Simulator I have also included a number of reshades that I use within there as well that are free for you to be able to download and use as shown in this video. To install the Reshade application, in the downloaded folder that I showed you, we've got the Reshade 6.50 that we can then run. Once run, it will then come up with this box as you see here. It will come up with a warning saying the build of Reshade is outdated and a newer version is available. Ignore that warning because obviously it represents an incompatibility at the moment with American Truck Simulator. OK that, and then simply select American Truck Simulator. As you can see here at the bottom, we then simply need to click on Next. We are installing using DirectX 10, 11, 12. It's actually DirectX 11 that we are using in the game at the moment. Once we've selected this, simply click on Next. If you click Uncheck All and then Check All, you can see that it will install all effects. We're not going to obviously be using all of these effects, but each reshade contains its own set of effects that are utilized. We then click on Next. It will take some time, and once it's downloaded, we then move on to the next section. We then need to check the installation that the application has been successful, and to do this we need to look in the drive where the game is located. On my PC here I've installed it on the C drive, so first of all we need to click on C, we're going to need to go to Program Files x86, and then we need to go to Steam, and then go to Steam Apps, and then Common, and then American Truck Simulator you'll see here, and we need to then go to the bin folder, and then the WinX64 folder, which is at the top here. If successful, you'll see that it's installed a number of files. So we've got Reshade shaders just here, and we've also got a Reshade folder here. Now I've actually created the Reshade folder because I've got some previous lighting effects in here as well. But there are two ways of doing this, and this is the way that I actually do this. To run both Snowymoon, which we're going to be looking at next, you cannot have two DXGI DLL files sharing the same bin file. So you can either do this in two ways. You can either move all the Reshade files into their own folder, which we have here known as Reshade, or we can do it in the way that I do this, which is go to the DXGI.dll file, and then if we click on Properties, and then we then simply change the actual name of this file to d3d11.dll, and then click on OK. That will then enable the Reshade application to run, as well as running the Snowymoon temporal anti-aliasing and lighting effects application as well, which I'll show you shortly. Once we've done this, we then need to go into the actual game folder and verify the installation has been successful. But before we do so, we need to obviously add our reshades into the root folder of the game as well. So to do this again, we've got our reshade folder open just here. As you can see, we've got the reshades that I'm giving you guys for free within this application. What we're going to do is we are just going to put those in a folder just to the side so you can see that. We are then going to repeat what we've just done again. So we're going to go to C, Program Files, x86, and then go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, American Truck Simulator, and Bin. WinX64 again. You can see I've already created a folder previously which is called Reshade. So what you then need to do if you don't have this, which obviously you will not, is you need to right click and create a new folder, and you need to name that as Reshade in all lowercase. Once you've done this, as you can see I've got the one here, then you can simply add the 3 reshades I've given you. So I'm just going to highlight those here, and I've given you one for every scenario, and you're going to move those across into that reshade folder. Once you've done this, you can then close this, and we can then launch the game. So once we are in American Truck Simulator, you will see that a new option will appear in the top left-hand corner if the installation has been successful, and you will see it's prompting you to press home on the keyboard. Pressing home on the keyboard will bring up a new menu that you can see here, and at this stage we can skip the tutorial, and each reshade contains its own set of effects that we can utilize. If you click on the blue bar at the top where it says Reshade Preset, and then if we locate our folder that we created, known as Reshade, within here we've got all the reshades that we put in here, and we can select the most appropriate one for what we're using. We're going to show you how to install Project NextGen next, but the reshade that we're going to be using in this instance is known as the Autumn Preshade. A box will appear and it will show all of the relevant sections that are in use on this particular reshade, but there is also another reshade that I would recommend using, and that is the High Pass Sharpen. So if we type in High and select High Pass Sharpen, we can pull the bar up to the top just here, and there are a number of effects in here that we can change. I'm putting on screen now the actual parameters that I have input into this section to get my game looking the way it has, and I would advise that you pause the game at this stage and take a picture of those settings, and then simply adjust the sharpening effects in here to match the settings that I've shown you on screen. So next up, we're going to be installing Project NextGen, and this is a paid modification, and again, please don't ask me to provide this to you because I'm unable to do so. There is a link in the video description that shows you where to obtain the modification from. Upon clicking that link, you'll be presented with the Project NextGen webpage. You can see here there are 2 different variations of Project NextGen, and both of these contain free updates on a regular basis. So when the game is updated, the owner of the site, Damien, will update the applications, and it will make those available to download from the original link that you used to get the modifications. The Euro Truck Simulator 2 Project NextGen modification is slightly larger than the American Truck Simulator one, so it's slightly higher in price, but for a very reasonable fee of €15, you can simply click on View Product and then Buy Now, and once you've bought the modification, we can then simply move on to the next stage and show you how to install that. When you have downloaded the Project NextGen modification, it will come in the encrypted folder. You need to unzip this using the password supplied, and once you have unzipped it, you will then see that it contains 3 subfolders. The installation guide contains lots of information that's good to familiarize yourself with. It contains also some information on how to install the supplied reshades, and it includes also some reshade presets. I would recommend adding these presets into the American Truck Simulator bin folder that we previously installed, the ones I supplied to you within as well. And of course, you can use the ones supplied with the Project NextGen application, which you may find preferential to the ones I've given to you. But going back, we've then got a main mod file section just here. And you can see within here, this contains the actual SCS files that are required to add the application into the game itself. To do so, we need to go into the actual root of our PC again, and you will see that there is a Documents folder or tab just on the left-hand side here. By clicking on American Truck Simulator, you will see there is a mod folder. If there isn't a mod folder already there, you need to simply right-click and create a new folder, and then create a folder called Mod in all lowercase. Upon opening the mod folder, you can see here this contains all the modifications I'm presently using in the game. And I can already show you that I've got the Project NextGen files installed already. But if you were wanting to do so yourself, or you will be doing so yourself, you can simply drag those in to there. It's not going to obviously install them again because I already have them in there, so I'm going to cancel that action. You can see here that all the modifications that I have installed here are ones that's shown within the game, and many of these are outside of the actual application store or the Steam Workshop store, so I'll be also showing you where to obtain these from external sources, or a number of these from external sources as well. There are a number of modifications I have in use here that are paid modifications that I won't be able to share with you, like JBX. I'm not going to be using in this particular example today. But again, you can obviously add to your modifications over time. There are also some paid ones as well in here, which are the actual John Ruder truck ones that I'm also showing you in game as well. We're now going to dive into the game and show you how to activate modifications once installed. And in the title screen, you'll see there is a tab on the left-hand side at the bottom that's called Mods. We select Mods, and you will see here that we have all the modifications that we have installed. The effects that I've utilized within the game so far are the Project Next Gen and also the Better Raindrops. We have the truck add-on and the all-in-one, which will give you the rain effects that we showed at the beginning of the video. The load order you can see on screen here, so we have all sound fixes. And remember that the modifications that I have from a workshop are actually linked again in the video description. You can simply scan through those and you can download those from a Steam workshop, which I'll show you how to do shortly. The ones we're interested in, however, are the actual PNG effects. The load order for PNG is shown here. So we have the street lamps, we have the spring add-on, and then we also have the weather effects, which would be shown in this section here normally. Now I've actually removed the weather aspect from the PNG installation here, and I've inserted the weather 3.5116K, which again is a Steam Workshop file. You can either utilize the Project Next Gen weather application, or you can also utilize this one if you want to remove that or not add it in at all. There are also a couple of other applications that are available from external sources, and again I'll show you how to download those shortly from the external mods section when we come to that. All other modifications in use here are either available from the Steam Workshop, or there are many that are paid modifications such as the John Ruder trucks, and there are also other ones which I mentioned at the beginning just there, such as rail companies, gas stations and billboards, and again these are Steam Workshop applications. Other ones are available exclusively outside of the workshop itself, and there is a particular load order to these, and I'll show you how to actually implement the best load order into the game to get the game working well. If things are not presented in the correct load order as shown, then you may experience issues, and we'll show you how to circumvent those by putting things in the right sections as well. So next up we have Snowymoon, and Snowymoon Lighting Improvements is again a paid modification and is available from the Snowymoon Patreon page and also the Snowymoon website, which is where you would use the link within this to get to the Snowymoon Patreon page and sign up for the $1 or £1 a month application that is needed to use for the lighting improvements within the game. Upon heading to the web page, and again the link is in the video description, you will see there are a number of tabs available. It represents a number of different games that are supported. The one we're interested in here is obviously Euro American Truck Simulator. Upon clicking on this, you will see there is one at the top which is a paid modification. That's the one we're interested in, and you will see there are various different guide videos just here as well, but we are interested in at this stage the 2.035.11 stable version. Upon clicking on this, it will then take you across to download the application from the Patreon page, and you will need to download the relevant folder. We'll show you how to install those now. So once we've downloaded these Snowymoon files that we require by signing up to the Patreon page, you will also require a license key, so it's only possible to actually sign up to the Patreon page to utilize this within the game. Once we've downloaded the files, you'll see once we've extracted the folder contents that there are two DLL files within here. One is named dinput8 DLL and the other one is a DXGI DLL. And if you recall from a previous section of the video where we renamed the previous DXGI DLL file to a D3D11 file in the actual Reshade section, the reason for that is because two of the DXGI files cannot be shared in the same bin folder itself. So to install this, we need to go back onto our root folder again where we've got the game installed. We need to go to Program Files x86, and then we need to go to Steam, and then we need to go to Steam Apps, and then Common, and then back into American Truck Simulator, and into Bin, and then WinX64. You can see here that we renamed previously the Reshade variation of the DXGIDLL file, so we have no need to have any conflicts within here. Providing we've done that correctly, we can then select these two files and we can drag those into here. You'll see they'll add in at the bottom. If we hadn't have renamed that original file, then it would have a conflict and it simply would not run. Either Reshade or Snowymoon would conflict with each other. And again, instead of actually renaming that file, you could have also moved all the files and folders that relate to Snowymoon into a Reshade folder, but by doing so, it's much easier and makes it completely unnecessary and you'll have no conflicts. We now need to head into the game and I'll show you how to set these Snowymoon lighting improvements up. So back into the game itself, and we need to just verify, first of all, that both of the applications are working correctly. First of all, we're going to check that the Reshade application is working. So we do that again by pressing our home. And as we can see here, we have the Reshade and our Reshade installed that we are utilizing. Closing this again by pressing the home button, we next need to press the end key on the keyboard. And we'll now see there is a new menu that appears, which is the Snowymoon application. To make things completely easy for you, we're going to put on screen and I'll tell you when to press pause on your keyboard and then basically take a screenshot of this, and all of the settings are condensed down in here to make things very simple for you. But just to briefly talk you through everything, first of all, we have a number of different lighting presets. You can see we have lighting A to D, D being the default, and then A being a different lighting preset. There are reshades that are set to match these, and again, you would need to work with the reshades and find the best one that works for you. The quality settings are based upon PC specification. Remember that Snowymoon is quite an intensive application and may make it difficult for your PC to run at a high FPS rates if you have a PC that's not capable of doing so. Anti-aliasing and motion blur, again, I mentioned motion blur in the previous sections of the video, and I do have motion blur turned up to maximum intensity, but again, this may be too much, obviously, for you may prefer a lower intensity. The main section of the actual Snowymoon lighting improvements that we are interested in is the colours and tone map. And again, this may be different for your PC. It depends on your monitor and depends on your preference, but I'm going to put on screen in a moment these settings so you can see those again. And in objects, we have different surface, and then we have different roads, and then we have different vegetation settings. And again, I have these set to maximum on the leaves thickness, the grass thickness, and also on the surfaces I have set to the saturation level that you can see there. And remember, all these settings are going to be on screen in a moment for you, so simply press pause on your keyboard and you'll be able to take a picture or a screenshot of that, and you'll be able to then use that when it comes to a relevant section within the game. Once you've done this, again, you simply need to then just press end on the keyboard and you can then enter into the game and you can carry on as normal. And once you enter into the game, you'll see a dramatic difference in the game based upon obviously the reshades that you're using and the settings that you've implemented there. So we've already shown you how to install an external mod when we installed the Project Next Gen modification, and we did that by downloading the modification and then extracting the .scs files, and we then drop those into the documents, American Truck Simulator, and the mod folder that was either present or we created it ourselves. The easiest modifications to install, however, are workshop modifications, and workshop modifications also have a benefit of being both safe and free to use. To download and install workshop modifications, we simply click into the Steam application, and then we look at the installed games down the left hand side. So in this instance we have American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2. We can click back onto American Truck Simulator, which was showing you in this video, and if we then look along the tabs along the top, you will see there is one that is named Workshop. Click on Workshop and you'll see it takes us into the actual workshop page. And there are a number of ways we can locate modifications within here. We can either search for the modification if we know the name of it or the type of modification we're looking for. We can look at the most popular modifications, and these are the most recent ones that are added in by the incredible workshop modders who do these incredible modifications and make the game what it is. There are also most subscribed modifications as well, so you can see these are the most popular ones that people are looking at the moment. I would definitely recommend against using things like fast money because it tends to be quite game breaking, but of course it's completely up to you if you want to go down that route. And then also most recent ones, so these tend to be most recently updated mods for the newer versions of a game like we're 1.57, which we're on now. So we're simply going to select a random one just here that you can see, and if we look at the modification, we can click on screenshots and see if it suits our liking. And if we do like the look of it, and this again is the most recent one, you can see it was only updated very recently. And I tend to look at reviews if they are available or look at any potential issues it may cause. But in this instance, I like the look of this, and I'm simply going to select subscribe, and that will then be instantly downloaded. As you can see here, it's downloaded the modification, and then that will then be available within American Truck Simulator itself, which I'll show you now. So we're back in American Truck Simulator and we've downloaded our workshop mod. If we go to the mods tab just on the left here, and we will see that our newly downloaded modification will appear on the left hand side here. If you look at the actual color coding just here, you'll see that any appearing green here are active, and if we then click on this one and we simply select the tab to move it across, you will then see that this one then becomes active as well. The load order again is important, and all skins should sit right at the bottom. So to do this, simply highlight this and then click on the tab here to load this down to the bottom in the decreased priority tabs. I'm now going to also put on screen a example of the load order, or the best load order to use with modifications. And remember that this is a rough guide and you may need to play around with this sometimes to get it working correctly if you do experience any issues with modifications. But as a general rule of thumb, all sound modifications should sit at the very top, as we see here. And I actually deliberately put one just outside of that previously. I'm just going to increase the priority of that and move it above all the graphical modifications you see here. So the graphical modifications, the raindrop sits above the Project Next Gen section just here. And then just below here, we have some external modifications, which are improved trees and also improved grass as well. All the other ones sit below this. Again, we have Real Companies Extended, which is another large modification. And the game will actually order the modifications itself. I'm going to show you how to do that as well, and also show you how to circumvent any issues you may be having within the game as well. Once we're happy with our load order, so we've changed everything around, we simply then click on Confirm Changes, and then you can see that that modification box just there is now changed to 176 active, whereas previously 175. So now we've got everything set up back in the game itself, we need to come back into the Steam homepage and we need to select American Truck Simulator again. There are a couple of different things that we need to do as well to make sure that our game runs with all the modifications we've set in there. We need to also change something within the game configuration file as well, and I'll show you how to do that. The first thing we need to do is we need to select our game at the top, American Truck Simulator again. And if we look along the right hand side, you'll see there is a cog icon that's called Manage. If we select the cog icon and we select Properties, first of all, there is a line within the video description that I put in there, and you need to highlight that line, you need to copy that line, and you also need to add it into the advanced load options, which you can see here. The first one, just to explain what these are doing, is the first one, which is labeled minus no intro, will skip the introduction sequence when you launch into the game, which is pretty long-winded, and you've probably seen it a million times now and probably got pretty fed up with that. But the most important one is we need to increase our memory pool size. This is on the assumption that you do have at least 32 gig of RAM installed. If you don't, you would need to half that number, divide it by 2, and simply change that variable to match your RAM settings. I have 48 gigabytes of CU-DIMM RAM installed on my PC, but I have set it to 32 because it doesn't need to be anymore. It's more than ample to set the parameters to that level. The next thing we need to look at in this is we need to actually look at the installed files tab on the left hand side, and there are two really handy options in here. If you're having problems with the game, you can select verify integrity of installed files, and this takes a couple of moments and basically will simply just check the installation files and make sure that everything is in the correct order, and if there are any missing files or any problematic files that the game is having, for example if you're having crashes, it's always a good idea to also run the verification of integrity once you've added any modifications into the game or added any additional Steam Workshop files, just to make sure that everything is in the right place. It takes literally a couple of moments, as you can see, depending on the speed of your drive. I've got a Gen 5 drive in my PC at the moment here, so it whizzes through there pretty quickly. As you can see, all the installation files are successfully validated. But we also then need to click on the other tab as well, which is called the Workshop tab. And then we can see that in here we've got all of our Workshop files, including the one we've just added in there, which is the skins file. If there are any that we want to remove, we can simply either click on the bin or we can just simply suspend it by unticking that application there, and it will remove it from there. But if we go on to the Show Advanced options, and then if we click on Find Best Load Order, you'll see that that one disappeared, and you can see that one of the higher sized applications moves right to the top, and this has simply enabled the game to put every modified file into the correct load order for you, so it simply saves you from having to look through and doing that. If you go back into the game, the load orders will still appear in the same locations, but the game has simply ordered them on the drive or the SSD or the NVMe to make it easier and faster to load for you and to ensure that you don't have any problems. That's essentially all we really need to do in this section just here. I'm now going to show you a couple of settings in the game configuration file which will make the game run smoother and also ensure you don't have any issues when launching or suspending the game. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is the actual game configuration file, and there are a couple of settings in here that will make your game run smoother, and there's also a very crucial setting which increases the memory buffer scaling to enable the modifications to run smoothly, because unfortunately as the game has progressed over the years, with these high level modifications that we're running, including obviously Project Next Gen and a number of workshop modifications, the actual memory integrity has some memory leaks and it's not very well optimized, unfortunately. It's something that obviously is improving, but we do obviously need to make a couple of adjustments to make sure obviously that everything runs smoothly. First of all, if we look down the left hand side of the root installation of our PC, you'll see we've got documents on the tab just on the left here. We've seen this obviously previously. And if we look at American Truck Simulator, and if we scroll down, you'll see there is a tab that's labeled config. We need to double click on that to open that. So once we're in the actual game configuration file, you'll see here it opens in notepad form. And first thing we need to do is we need to change the actual in-game buffer scaling. To do this, if you press Ctrl and F on the screen, and if you type in buff or BUFF, and you search using the up and down arrow, and you'll see the first one we get to here is buffer page size. Yours will be set to something around 40. I would recommend changing this to the highest value possible, depending on the specification of your PC permitting. I would start with perhaps 60, and I've got mine set here to 80 because I'm running a high-end system. The next one that we need to then look at is the actual traffic density. If we type traf, as in traf, TRAFF, and then there's a couple of options in here as well, as you can see here. So we've got the G_traffic, which is the one we're looking for, and this is generally set to 1.1 as a generic standard, and with that you're not going to have much traffic on the road. You can change this by simply changing the value in here to 1.3, 1.4, whichever you wish, and by increasing that value it will improve the actual amount of traffic or other vehicles on the road. I tend to find that 1.3, 1.4 is realistic. Any more than that becomes a little bit silly, but there are obviously applications from a workshop that do the same, but it's very easily set within here to do this yourself. Once you've changed the parameters, you then can simply click on File, and then you can just click on Save, and then we can then close that, and that's all you need to do. We can then dive into the game, and we can enjoy American Truck Simulator with all our new modifications, Reshade, Project Next Gen, and all the workshop modifications we have installed. There is one final other modification that I will need to show you, and this is the external modifications as well. So we've shown you in the video so far how to download paid modifications with Project Next Gen. We've shown you how to install workshop modifications as well. The third one that is another source of modifications, and this is one to be a bit more careful of when you are navigating around these, is the external sites. This one is one that I do like to use and tend to get a lot of my modifications from here, which is known as Modland. And you can see once we get into Modland, you can see instantly we're presented with a wave of pop-up adverts, so just be careful of these and just navigate carefully around these when you're looking for modifications to download. There are lots of games supported in here, but the one that we're interested in this instance is, again, American Truck Simulator, and we can see that there. We're clicking on American Truck Simulator, and you can see along the top here we've got some trending modifications. There are lots in here. You do tend to find that there are some ones such as JBX3, which I've already mentioned in here, and again, that is a paid modification, so just be dubious of downloading any that you do download from here. I can't obviously say whether they will work correctly or whether they are in fact the actual modification itself. But if we look, for example, at trucks, and if we go into trucks as an example, there's all categories down the left. We even have some bus ones here as well, and I have shown in another video the actual coaches as well. But another thing to bear in mind with some that are created by people like these, although they are fantastic and some do work, you can have a nightmare if you do tend to drift into downloading those and they cause issues with the game itself. So going back onto trucks on the left hand side, you can see here that we've got this nice looking Kenworth needle nose one that's instantly caught my attention here. It's a new one that's been uploaded and it's represented on the right version, so make sure that you are downloading or looking at modifications that are working on the version of ATS or ETS2 that you are presently using. In this instance it's 1.57. I'm going to click on this and have a look at it to see what it's all about. I would instantly look for reviews if there are any reviews, but obviously this is fairly new so there are not any on there already, but it does look quite interesting. I'll scroll down and obviously see what's included, and you can see obviously it does include quite a lot of other different elements to it. So it's got the cabin chassis and everything, as you can see in the picture here. Hopefully it will come with that. If we're happy with everything there and everything checks out, we're looking for an SCS file, which is the file that we would need to drop into our mod folder under documents. I'm happy with this. I'm going to click on it. It's going to warn me it's taking me to an external site. So Modfire, I do have an account with Modfire here. If you don't, then be dubious of this again, because it's going to come up with a lot of pop-up adverts if you don't. And you just need to click on generate link, and it will click on generating, and then it's already started to download, and I'm downloading that modification now. For me, it's taken a matter of a few seconds, but if you don't have a paid account with Modfire, it can take sometimes a number of hours to download some of these modifications as well. So just like before, we're back into American Truck Simulator again, and we can see that the mods folder on the left hand side here, if we click on there, and the file that we just downloaded, we drop that into our American Truck Simulator documents and then mod folder, and you can see it appears on the left hand side here. We simply select it and we then move it across to our active mods. We then drop this down to the bottom, and then we move it further up in the load order priority, just a couple up there, and then we simply click on confirm changes. We can then launch into the game, so we click on continue career. Once we launch back into the game itself, we can simply purchase our truck by going into services, truck dealers, and you can see here at the bottom we've got a tab that's labeled access mod dealer, and then we will then simply look for the truck that we just selected or downloaded just there. We select this, and then we go to customize configuration, and you can see here what we have in the game, our newly downloaded truck from Modland. To configure this, we can simply click on paint job. We can select a custom color by using the tab at the top, so we want to select a nice shade of red just there. We then click on accessories, and this is where we would then basically pimp our truck. So we would do, for example, change the grille, change the features on there. We can then change the tires, so put different tires on there. We can then change the rims. So again, these are workshop modification rims that I have, and you can also get these again using the link in the video description. And we can simply make it exactly what we want. We can do exactly whatever we want to this truck. We can change the body type as well, so there'll be different body types available, as you can see. And then we can also change the interior mods as well by clicking on the interior. So there's lots of different things we can do, as you can see here. So we've got the interior here, so we can add things onto here. We've got the various different items we can add here. If we want to add a SCS coffee mug, which is actually incompatible with this one because it's coming up with this checkered effect. So any incompatible mods, just like mentioning just there, the coffee mug, which was unfortunately not compatible, we're showing this checkered effect here. And that can be a load order issue again, or it can simply be just the fact that it's just not compatible with this particular truck. So once we've selected everything and we've confirmed our truck, we can then simply select it, purchase it, and we can simply move it into a garage where there is available capacity to hold that truck, and then we can simply purchase it, and that's our truck purchase. So if we want to then drive it, we simply select it from the main menu. So we'll go on to Company Truck Manager, and we can find our truck down at the bottom, just here, which is the Kenworth Needle Nose. And if we want to then drive it, we can simply select Drive, and we'll then be inside of the truck. So that's how we add modifications, that's how we modify our game, that's how we add Snowymoon, that's how we add Reshade. If there are any issues with any of this, or you have any further questions, then add yourself to my Discord, and there's an American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2 section in there where I can obviously help you out further. I don't unfortunately have the ability to answer immediately with any questions that you may have or any assistance that you may need, but I do get around to checking on a daily basis, and I'll do my best to help you out. Thank you all so much for the likes, comments, shares and support. It truly means the world. And there are some links here to some other videos that you also may find of interest. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.